All right. Hello. As always, thank you for your time. I cannot express enough how making these videos has helped me explain this material better. And not only the long form, but it's also helping me as I'm doing this, like I'm internalizing this material more, and so I'm able to be more concise when I need to keep it tight and short. I'm also becoming a better guitar player. I'm noticing a lot more about my body as I'm teaching it to the people who watch this video. I see that I get about 50 to 70 views consistently on these. Don't get likes, so I don't know how many of those people are actually watching, but I just want to say, thank you for your time, assuming those do reflect people watching the full videos. And also, I really hope you're going to learn something from this too, and already have. I very much believe in this mission. So to those on YouTube and Facebook who've been watching this, I appreciate your time and support. I'm talking to you on June 16th. I present at the GFA on the 19th, so it's Monday. That's going to be Thursday coming up. I don't know how I feel about it, but I got a whole bunch of things to do and a drive down to Louisville in front of me before I have to worry about that. So here we go. What's coming up? We got maybe one more video, maybe two on the right hand that I'm going to do this week. I'm at 2 to 4 videos on the left hand, and then we're done. And I'm going to take a very long break, and then I'm going to start working on my recital with Renee in July. That might not seem like a lot of videos, and the reason is because we've already kind of done the hardest parts. Once you learn the joints and the tools and how to move, and you learn how to feel, this starts to shorten up really quick, especially since I don't have to explain those concepts every time. Today, what we're going to learn is we're going to circle back on the shoulder to arm joint, the displacement types, and I'm going to teach you how to feel the muscles around your shoulder to arm joint so that you can feel them relax when you come into contact with the guitar arm, and explain why you need to feel that. And we're also going to talk about anchor fingers in the right hand. So here we go. So the first exercise that I would do is, well, actually I want to make this explanation first. So just a reminder, we use the elbow as an example. You have the bicep in here, it contracts, it's got a tendon that's like a rope next to the forearm, so as it contracts, it pulls that forearm up. The reason I'm reiterating that is that I want you to really understand that, like, the thing that pulls it is behind it. Like, it has to be. You couldn't be here and pull it upwards. It has to be behind the joint it's operating on in order to pull that bone up in the forearm, right? Now, the reason I tell you that is that the same thing is going to be true for the shoulder to arm joint, which is this joint here, connects the shoulder to the arm. The actual name for it in science is like glenohumeral fossa joint, but that's a mouthful. Since it connects the shoulder to the arm, I'm going to call it shoulder to arm joint. Because it is a ball and socket joint, it has a wider range of motion. It doesn't just go in and out like the elbow. And because of that, feeling it is just a tiny bit messier, but not in any way that you can't handle it. It isn't complicated. Now, remember that part of my method of teaching you how to feel is to do exaggerated motions that you probably would never do playing guitar, so that you get exaggerated amounts of tension, so that you really become more sensitive to it, and then gradually doing smaller motions so you refine your sense of tension. So the first thing we're doing is motion you never do when you play guitar, and that is holding your arm directly out in front of you. And as you do that, I want you to feel on top of your shoulder and your upper back, and hold it for a while until you feel the muscular exertion. And then what you want to do is let it fall and feel it relax when you're no longer holding it up. Then you want to train yourself smaller amounts of tension, and thus smaller amounts of motion. So you're going to have way more tension up here than you are going to be halfway. So I do halfway, and then I let it relax. And I'm going through these quickly because I don't want this video to be super long. I want to demonstrate the exercise, but hold it until you feel tension. Same with all of these that I'm going to show you. So hold it, let it relax. Then do like 1/4, let it relax. And then do a little bit, let it relax. And do it until you've decided you're ready. Then I'd move on to going this way. Now, again, because it's a ball or socket joint, there's a wide range of motion. You may be feeling in slightly different places. You might feel some tension in the upper chest. For sure, you're going to feel some tension in the shoulder, because that's where think of the shoulder as kind of right here, the muscles there are kind of analogous to the elbow, like it's pulling that whole arm up. You're also going to feel some muscle exertion in the upper back. And so you're going to hold, feel the tension, and then feel it relax as you let it fall to your side. And then again, halfway, relax, quarter way, relax, smaller and smaller amounts, as much as you need. Only thing I'd add is I really make sure to take seriously and not skip like the invisible amounts, where it's like next to nothing. If you're going to really take one area seriously, it's feeling that this is relaxed and this is tense. that this is relaxed and this is tense, like the invisible amounts. You want to train yourself to feel and how it impacts your feelings of your own body. Because it's those smaller amounts that we're really going to be dwelling on once you play guitar. Because you don't actually do these large motions when you're playing guitar, so you're going to have smaller motions with smaller amount of tension. So you really want to take seriously now feeling the small amounts of tension. Once we've done that, we then do another exercise that is sort of variation of one that was in Ricardo Isnola's 2013 method, and also a variation of something Renee taught me. This is my own version of it. It's my own words and my own exercise, but I do want to give them some credit for the roots that I have from them. So I would start by holding your arm out like this, and then I do two different exercises. So one is you start by bringing the forearm in contact with the top of the guitar. So you feel until you feel tension, in the upper chest, top of the shoulders, upper back. And then I hold it for a while until you feel tension, and then bring the forearm in contact with the guitar and let it and feel the muscular release. But here's the thing. You want to keep the wrist aligned with the forearm while you do this. And so now you're going to be feeling less tension, but there's still going to be tension from two places. One, you're still holding this forearm up. You haven't let the fingers come in contact with the guitar. And two, you're holding the wrist up in alignment with the forearm. So you're going to feel exertion, muscular exertion around there as well. And then I bring those fingers in contact with the guitar and feel everything relax, both the shoulder to arm joint muscles and the muscles around the wrist. And so to repeat that again, start here, forearm, fingers. Feel around the shoulder to arm joint and feel around the wrist. Then I do the opposite. I start from here and I do the wrist, right? I do the fingers in contact and then feel around the shoulder to arm joint, feel around the wrist, and then bring the forearm in contact with the guitar and let it relax. Now again, we're going from very large motions that you'll never do playing guitar like this, or holding your guitar like this, to the more subtle ones that we now have to train ourselves to feel when you're actually playing guitar. So I get in whatever sitting position you do, and I would, whether it's Segovia or flamenco or the more modern school with a footstool, whatever it is you're doing, and I'd start like this and hold the arm up, and I'd feel what happens when feel the relaxation of the shoulder to arm joint, but not the full relaxation, because you're not holding up the whole arm anymore because your forearm came in contact with the top of the guitar. But your shoulder to arm joint does get to relax a little bit because you're not holding the whole arm up. But you still are holding the forearm up. So there's going to be some tension. If I just let everything relax, I just fall on the top of the guitar. Also, you want to feel the tension of the wrist as you're holding the wrist in alignment. And then you want to feel as everything gets to relax once you get into contact with the strings. So again, holding, forearm contact, finger contact, on the wrist and shoulder and arm joint relax. So the question is, why do all this? And the answer is that one of the points that both Renee and actually I spent a lot of time studying with his wife, Alina, and quick shout out, she basically taught me everything I know. But neither here nor there, but just wanted to give her a quick shout out in this video. One of the things that they both emphasized was that playing guitar in classical is like walking. And what they meant by that is that if you think of when you walk, you have 2 feet on the ground, and then you step forward, and once the one foot comes into contact, then the back foot can lift. And then that one comes into contact with the ground, and then the other one can lift. In other words, there's always something in contact with the ground. Similarly, you want to learn how to always keep in contact with the strings of the guitar and the way you play. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do that. One is to finger your piece in such a way so that, you're always plucking, and so it's like walking. To the degree that you can, as much as possible, you're in contact with the strings. The other way is to use anchor fingers. Now, there's a couple different kinds of anchor fingers. The one you're going to see most commonly is the thumb. So the thumb is always in contact, and then you can do scales and all sorts of stuff. And the thumb, it's called the following thumb, because it keeps following those fingers as they pluck. You can also do the ring finger, and I actually got this from a classical guitarist out in Poland, in Lukas. I can never pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to bother to try. But he uses the ring finger either on its own or in combination with the thumb. So you'll see him do. And that is actually a variation of other types of anchor fingers that you see in other styles. So, for example, you see the flamencos keep the pinky on the top of the guitar. The lutenists also keep the pinky on top of the guitar. if you look at Wes Montgomery, when he's playing with the thumb, he keeps a couple fingers on top of the guitars, playing around. Jazz guys will do that. You'll see people resting on the pick guard. Joe Pass rests, I think, on the. He keeps an anchor finger on the actual pickup sometimes. The kind of I'm gonna call it the chassis around the pickup. I'm not sure what the actual term is. Not like the silver metal part, but the thing that it falls into. Martin Taylor, I didn't mention that already. He keeps a pinky on the pick guard, kind of like the lutenist, and he does a lot of solo guitar, so it's like a closer comparison to what we do as solo classical guitarists. So what I'm trying to get across here is there's multiple ways to do it. I'd encourage you to take a look at other players, and also to say that, like, this isn't just in classical. It's a concept that's all over the place. And so eventually, what you're between fingering the right hand so that you're always in contact with the guitar, and or using the anchor fingers, whether it's the thumb or ring finger or both, you'll start to learn to always keep in contact and feel the relaxation that comes from that. Now, obviously, you won't always be able to keep all fingers in contact with the guitar. There's going to be times and places where you don't, or you can't, or you don't want to even. But you need to learn how to feel and think this way. So that's what today's video is about. Thank you for your time and have a good day.